I studied botany, plant pathology, soil physics, soil chemistry, because I wanted to know more about the soil, which is the foundation for the plants. And then this bacterial disease used to wipe it out. It was devastating as a child, seeing all your hard work. It, I can, even today, I can see that rice field standing there, and one day and the next day, all falling, no harvest.
As heartbreaking as it is, that you really understand what it is to be a farmer.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that is foundationally, fundamentally different about high quality organics, is that we, from our highest level, understand not only the science, but the emotion and the economics behind a farm. What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan Raju, and this is the OG Spice Guy Show. This is episode 2. I'm super excited because we have a very special guest. My father, Dr. Spice, is here.
Dr. Raju is how I'm going to call him. I don't think I can call him Dr. Spice.
No, Dr. Spice. He's the OG Spice Guy.
The OG.
I learned it all from him.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you today. Going to be a good show.
I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Of course, Rob is here.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Today on the show, we're going to talk about my dad's journey, from how he came from a small, humble farm in southern India to the CEO of High Quality Organics. We're also going to talk about East Coast and Gulf Coast port strikes. You guys will remember a couple of months ago in October, there was a 3-day strike. Longshoremen against the U.S. Maritime Association. The strike was over 2 main issues, money and automation. The longshoremen did not want automation because obviously automation threatens their jobs, their livelihood. So at the time, there was a 3-day strike. It was, even though it was only 3 days, it was still very, very crippling to the U.S. economy. At the time, there was a temporary resolution that was had, and that was over the pay. And so they decided to kind of push the topic of automation until January. So a new 6-year contract sets a 62% pay increase, along with tougher standards for adding robotics to the docks. So what do you think? Have you ever seen anything, like this in your time?
No, I mean, this is automation is the main thing that's happening in Europe, is happening in China. All their ports are automated. The good news is the strike is over. The bad news is it's all going to be passed on to the end consumer.
Yeah.
The costs are going to go up. That doesn't help the inflation either.
So with this, not only the increase in wages for the longshoremen, but the problem is that a lot of these ports were in the process of building semi-autonomous cranes, docking equipment, so on and so forth, that could have been run by, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 people. So now with this new agreement, these ports are going to be forced to actually hire more dock workers. So costs are going to go up from not only a labor perspective, but there's a 62% pay increase.
Sounds like the dock workers won this one.
Oh, yeah, they certainly did.
Without a question.
62%?
Over 6 years.
So dude's making $100,000 yesterday, and today he's making 162. That's a lot.
Over the
That's
course of 6 years.
Oh, okay. Over the course of 6 years. Still, that seems like a high raise, and it's going to create more jobs.
More jobs. So
right?
in
the short term, I think that's in the short term, because eventually automation's coming.
It's got to.
It's just like AI.
Yeah.
You can say all you want, but AI is here to stay.
That's right. That's right.
Wall Street Journal is reporting it also is likely to raise costs for the shipping companies that want to implement these new technologies, including automation on the docks. That has been a major divide between the International Longshoremen Association, which are seeking to protect jobs, and the employers looking to make port operations more efficient.
Sure. What does that mean for you guys?
So thankfully, High Quality Organics doesn't use Gulf or East Coast ports. So majority of our products coming in through the West Coast. We're headquartered in Reno. So logistically, it makes more sense for us. But overall, I fear that it could have a ripple effect across all, freight and logistics. And what it means is higher cost. Higher costs, unfortunately, are going to be, pushed on to our customers, and our customers are going to push it on to their customers, who is, the end consumer. So we could start to see certainly some more inflation, more so than we already have.
Well, so your paprika is going to cost more, people.
Yeah.
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 Without a question.
On the West Coast, are they going to strike the same deal? I mean, do they?
It could set a precedent. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It could.
So the West Coast is not a concern because the West Coast are not up for contract renegotiation yet.
Yet.
Magic word.
But yeah, why wouldn't they want also a 62%?
I want 62%. I'm trying to tell everybody. I just need a little 62% raise.
Yeah.
Oh man. Hey, by the way, just a little side note in case you guys have noticed, because Jonathan is more than a spice salesman. He's more than a podcast host. He is also a trained hot water heater repairman. So for some reason, my hot water heater, it just decided to conk. It has nothing to do with the fires, like nothing to do.
Yeah.
So, but we just, our hot water heater just went out, and Jonathan's like, oh, I know how to turn the pilot light on. I did that for years in my apartment back in the day. So he came over and helped me get my pilot light reset, and we got that thing turned on, done. I'm like, man, you're a genius. And then
So it's working.
It was working, and then until the morning. And so it's broken. And so as we speak right now, there is a guy installing a whole brand new water heater in my house.
That was my prediction.
Yeah, you knew it, right?
Yeah,
See, because you're well trained, and you could, if this doesn't work out for you, you
You
could.
have a side job.
I have a side hustle.
He was literally had like Dickies on. He just happened to have Dickies on, so they're work pants. And then he had a hood. He had a
beanie.
like a beanie cap, and he had a couple of. He just looked like.
Real,
I'm sure we'll put a picture up.
repairman.
He did. We'll put a picture up because I took a picture. I think his butt crack was showing too, apropos. So might be a PG-13 podcast.
You have to
this
blur
week.
it.
We'll
Put
have
a
to
little
blur
blur.
your butt crack. Anyway, I just
Are you
didn't.
getting the continuous water flow unit?
No. So
What is it called? Tankless.
tankless. Is what they
Tankless
call. That's what I needed to do.
That's what you need to get.
Do you
That's
have
what.
one of those?
Yeah, we had our hot water heater. We had it for 15 years,
Yeah.
and then it broke. And then the repair cost was so much, we put in the new one.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I think my water heater's from probably literally the 1960s.
Oh, it looked
it
like
has,
it.
right? It
It looked
has.
like it.
It is a workhorse.
Yeah.
It deserves to be put to
Yeah.
rest and go away.
Yeah.
And I rent my house, Dr. Raju, so I'm not paying for
You're
it.
not paying.
So that's the good news.
Good news. The landlord is.
The bad news is I haven't taken a shower in 4 or 5 days. So if you guys,
That's why
you
he's
guys might
moving
need
away.
to. That's why that's why I'm all the way over here and you're all the way over there. Trust me. So I'm excited to hear about your dad a little bit. I mean, so
Yeah.
our first real guest on the show, and I'm hoping he comes back often, but
Sure.
I want to hear stories about this guy. I want to hear about how this whole thing kind of got started.
Yeah, I think High Quality Organics is a unique organization in that we are, the first and only family-owned and operated father-son kind of team that's in our space, that's in our industry. And my dad has a super unique and interesting background, so that's why we wanted him on the show today. I have a couple of questions here I'd love to go through. And as we had said, you were born and raised on a farm in southern India. So can you tell us about your childhood growing up on a small farm? What was life like, and what were some of the earliest lessons you learned from that experience?
Thank you. Yeah, even though I'm the CEO of HQO, I consider myself as a farmer, grower, When I am in the field, seeing the plants or the soil, that's when I get really excited. Because, as Jonathan said, I grew up on a small organic farm, 5 acres, and we were mainly growing rice, and we belonged to a co-op, and whatever we don't use, we were selling it to the co-op. It's all organic. Same-minded people belong to the co-op, and
Can you explain what a co-op is?
cooperative, meaning some of the growers in the same area belong to it. You also see very similar concept at Berkeley, which later on, when I was there, I had the same experience. So basically, there were about 25 growers in this, and then we help each other. The excess material go into the co-op, and anybody can come and buy it that wanted organic product. So that's what it's not regulated by government. There are no government rules, no regulations, because in India, if you are part of the government, the bureaucracy will take over. So, so
When was this? What time are we talking about? The 60s, 70s, when you were working the farm?
I left India in 1973, so it's in 60s.
Yeah.
Late 55, 60s. So my grandfather started the farm. My father, he was a science and math teacher, very strict, high expectations, and he was also our high school headmaster, meaning principal. Doing the work on the farm was the Saturday afternoon and all day Sunday. Then Monday through Saturday lunchtime, we had to go to school. Lot of homework. And so we had to do both. But my father was a staunch organic product committed person, and he taught us that you are what you eat. So we only ate fresh vegetables that are organically grown. Whole family is vegetarian, and he never even ate anything that's reheated. So my mom has to prepare 3 meals a day, full time, and that's what we ate. So it was challenging, at the same time very rewarding, because he was committed. So we all learned same thing from it. We were preparing our own compost, using all the age-old principles, including the neem leaves, neem plant. We were growing all along the edges of the small farm, and now neem oil is one of the commercially available organic products that can be used, that is used worldwide.
So let's take 2 steps back real quick. So you said organic compost. What is compost?
Compost is the one you don't, in an organic growing, you don't use ammonium fertilizers, nitrogen fertilizers, because they're not allowed. So the compost is with the green leaves, cow manure, and other things you add to it, and it goes into almost like a fermentation process. Along with it, you use a lot of neem leaves in it, and then when it is composted over a period of time, maybe sometimes 6 months to 8 months, you incorporate that compost into the soil.
So it's like organic fertilizer.
It's organic fertilizer in the loose.
But all natural.
All natural,
No
100%
synthetic
natural.
Yeah.
But I also want to talk a little bit about neem, the neem leaves and the neem plant. It was done for centuries in the organic growing area, and they were using the neem leaves to control the insects, to control the soil-borne pathogens. And then it's so ironic that a fellow graduate student of mine, he was a good friend of mine, he was the one that characterized what is in the neem oil, and Merck introduced the commercial product now being used worldwide.
So neem is largely an insecticide.
Insecticide, it also works as a fungicide. If you incorporate it into the soil, it kills all the bad pathogens, soil-borne pathogens. So that was my early learning that, why you do some of the things in the organic growing and why it is important and critical.
I think for many youngsters, growing up on a farm, that's not easy work. It's not an easy way of life. So did you always imagine yourself staying in that environment or pursuing something else?
So growing up with on the farm and seeing how the rice is planted, what goes into the soil, and how soil health is so important and critical. Many of the growers didn't have the scientific knowledge or the technical expertise. They were doing it because their fathers did it. And I was doing it because my father was telling us how to do it. But from the beginning, I was considered a radical in my family because I didn't follow all the traditional things. I used to question even when I was 11 years old. I used to argue with my father and not accept status quo as the way it is. I still do a lot of questioning to everybody. So when I'm in the meeting, normally what the meeting should be taking place 10 minutes. If I'm there, it will take 1 hour.
That's very true.
Very true. So anyway, I was curious why we do certain things certain way, and then the rice we were growing in those days, it is called the long rice. In other words, the rice will grow 6 to 7 feet, and then we used to get some diseases and wipe them out. And everybody used to say there is nothing you can do. Just to give you perspective, because of this problem, 80% of the people in the world eat rice as their stable food. So it is extremely important to have the rice. So the International Rice Research Institute was established in Manila, Philippines, and Indian Agriculture Research Institute was established in New Delhi and in the early 70s. So at that time, I wanted to go to those schools and get my education and really understand how to do it. But today, everywhere in the world, nobody grows the tall varieties. It's all short varieties that don't have that problem that we experienced. So as the Virginia Slim says, we came a long way, baby, in the rice growing. So you don't have those issues. So my main interest was to understand the technical stuff, and that's why I wanted to apply and get my higher education in United States. And so when I told my dad, he said, "Good luck, son, I support you, but get all the scholarships." So I was fortunate, applied for the scholarship. I was able to get the Fulbright scholarship. When I got everything paid, I didn't have to do anything. The tuition is paid, and I was getting the research assistant. The only thing my father has to do was to buy the airline ticket. And he said, see how you can get the airline ticket also paid by some agency. So I found out there is an Indian organization run by ladies that support the young minds, and I got the free ticket. So that's how I came here.
So I think you're being a little humble and glossing over a really important step. I mean, I've gone back. I've seen where that first village was, these were very, very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
I mean, no shoes, poverty of sorts.
Small village.
So how did you get this scholarship to be able to come to the United States?
Okay, that's a very good question. Like I said, my dad was a full-time science and math teacher. So when we were in the fourth grade, we had to learn three languages. Mother tongue, which is my mother tongue is Telugu since I'm from southern India. The national language, which is called Hindi, that was mandated at that time, and then of course English. So we had to learn all three languages. The English we learned the British style, the grammar, the spelling, the right pronunciation, writing, and all that. So I had difficulty with English. So I even had a tutor. My dad was big on helping, removing the obstacles, he used to say. So I learned English. So he encouraged me to go to the library. It was we had a small library, and luckily they were getting Time magazine as well as New York Times and one of the Indian language papers called Hindu. So even if you don't understand everything, keep reading. So I developed a staunch habit for reading. And then he also said, if you read and if you develop reading as a habit, you will never be alone. You can see the whole world through your books. So I still read at least one book a week, whatever the book I like. So as a result, I was reading all, everything that's happening, and I used to read about the scholarships early on, what scholarships are available, how you apply for the scholarships, and so I graduated top of my class. Not only my top of my class, but I was number one in my state. And so when I took the GRE, I missed by 1 point.
That's like
Missed-
getting a 1580 on your
On your
SATs or something.
Yeah,
like
when you
miss
say
one.
missed, you mean missed a perfect score
Perfect score by 1 point.
by 1 point.
That'll get you to Berkeley on a Fulbright scholarship.
So that's how I came to Rutgers first, and I did soil physics and soil chemistry, then to Berkeley, and then I taught there for a while. I got bored with the teaching and research. I quit the job, went back to business school, Darden Business School, got my MBA.
You're doing the whole story on fast forward. So let's hang on for a second. So I have a question. Can you describe what your experience was adjusting to life in the United States? So when you first landed in the U.S., what was the year you said?
73.
1973. What were some of the biggest challenges or surprises that you faced? So how old were you?
I was 21.
Okay. What was it like those first weeks and months in a foreign country? I mean, you had never left India, let alone the little city that you grew up in.
Yeah, I never left India. I didn't know anything. The first thing I had problem was the understanding the accent, the American accent, how people speak, some of the words, what they mean. Because in India, most of the things we learned and most of our teachers, they were speaking with the British style of accents.
Queen's
The
English.
Queen's English, so to speak. So when you come, I don't know anybody. I had no idea. So my major professor came and picked me up from the airport and then put me into the dormitory I was staying. And then the first day when I went to the cafeteria, that's where I had the meal coupon, so free meals. So I just sat there and I asked for can I get a cup of coffee? The guy that was there, he said, help yourself.
Welcome to America.
So I didn't know what help yourself means. So I just sat there. I was waiting for him to bring the coffee because growing up, mom was doing everything, right? You just sit in the dining table, mom gives you the coffee, whatever you need, and you don't even have to pick up your dirty utensils or anything. Mom will take care of that. And so I had no idea what the help yourself means. So then I saw everybody going there and pouring their own coffee and then the cream right there. I said, oh, help yourself means you do yourself.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
You have nobody to serve you, son. Do it yourself. So that was, that was the first experience. Then learning to eat the food, being a vegetarian, and you go there to the cafeteria, there was not many choices. So I was eating mainly pizza, baked potato. So that's what I was eating. Then the second experience was going to one of the graduate student mixers or parties. So right outside, there was a guy rolling and handing over the marijuana.
It was the 60s.
Yeah, it was the 60s. So I said, no, I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker. The guy says, man, this is not your regular smoke. If you just take few puffs, you will see the heavens. So I said, I'll pass. So it was very tough, and understanding the classes from the teachers was also very difficult. So I had a recorder, and I used to record all my lectures, and then go home in the evenings, and then listen and write it down. Listen and write it down, because to maintain my scholarship, I had to have a B plus. But early on, I learned from my father. We used to have a sign in our kitchen. A's are required in this house. A plus is an option. So I always had A's, so I had to maintain the A's. So I was working long days, getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep. That's it.
The guy worked hard, is what you're saying, right?
Worked hard.
Jonathan? Is that you? Now, do you hear this all the time when you're growing up and him
Oh.
telling you got to work hard and what the
Constant.
heck, and A's are A plus is an option? And
Constantly. Not only me, but everybody at HQO knows these stories too.
okay, good.
So they all know that A's are mandatory, A pluses are optional.
I like that.
Yeah.
It should be on a wall somewhere, on a T-shirt. That's good.
T-shirt. Kind of getting back to the life on the farm, my question was, what motivated you to study? So you're studying botany?
Yeah, I studied botany, plant pathology, soil physics, soil chemistry, because I wanted to know more about the soil, which is the foundation for the plants. And then this bacterial disease used to wipe it out. It was devastating as a child, seeing all your hard work. I can, even today, I can see that rice field standing there, and one day and the next day, all falling, no harvest.
As heartbreaking as it is, that you really understand what it is to be a farmer.
Yes.
And I think that that's something that is foundationally, fundamentally different about high quality organics, is that we, from our highest level, understand not only the science, but the emotion and the economics behind a farm. And that's really what makes HQO unique, and where we are truly partnering with our suppliers and, of course, with our customers. So you have your master's degree, and then you went on to UC Berkeley. And what was that for?
Did the PhD there, and then afterwards.
For your PhD, what were you studying? What was your thesis based on?
There was a disease on grapes, That disease was considered for many, many, many years a virus disease, or a lot of different hypotheses.
So obviously the grape industry in Northern California is very important because of Napa Valley.
Yeah, and they were contributing a lot of research dollars
Of course.
to the to the universities, and so we worked on characterizing it. We were able to isolate it and molecularly show that's not a virus, it's not a bacterium. We created a new genus, new species called Xylella fastidiosum, which has a thick wall more than the regular bacteria, and we created completely new genus and species. Not only we did that, then we were able to produce an antibody to that antiserum and showed how it's different from all the others. Then we had a collaboration with a guy from University of Argentina. He came as a postdoc and developed a technique where we can screen any plant if early enough if it has the same problem. And we showed even how the disease came, because all the native grapes in Napa Valley, they had this pathogen, but they were immune. When the Spaniards introduced the Vitis vinifera, which is the cultivated grape, it did not have the resistance. So the insects, the leafhoppers, were hopping from the local grapes and contaminating the cultivated grapes. That's how it was spreading.
Who knew how much went into getting your glass of Pinot?
No, seriously. That's but and it's that we take for granted that people did this before us. So this was an issue, and it would have been like, well, I guess wine is going to be more expensive. I guess it's going to be harder to get a good glass of wine, and I guess I'm learning that your dad was part of fixing a major problem where America gets its wine.
Yeah. So after your PhD, it's time to go to work.
Yeah.
So where did you start? How did your career begin?
Yeah, my first job interview was with University of Kansas, Manhattan. And it just so happened it was it was in December.
In Manhattan, New York.
No,
in
Kansas.
Kansas.
Ah.
So when I landed there, it was all snow and ice. I have never seen snow or ice until that time. So I did the interview, and they offered me the job, and of course I rejected it.
This is a guy from southern India.
It's too cold.
Too cold. Then my second job was University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Same, end of December. Same
worse.
thing. It was worse. And so rejected. Then finally I got a job with the University of California, Davis.
After that, you left academia?
Left academia, went back to business school, University of Virginia, Charlottesville.
I'm from Virginia.
Yeah.
Not quite as much snow.
No.
Right.
But fall was spectacular. The color change and everything. During this time, they also I fell in love with a fellow grad student, got married, and she was a mathematician, brilliant mathematician. He knew her numbers. I was bad in numbers because I'm going by the different things. So it was a great combination.
That's your mom.
I was just about to say.
Just in case you didn't know the story.
Just in case.
She was good at math.
Yeah.
What really fascinated me was I was a member of the board of directors of California Grape and Wine Institute. they had a lot of money, and they were giving to research. And I also had a grad student. We were working on antique grapes, the grapes that were bought by the Spaniards, 100 years ago. But they all had a virus problem and they were declining. So the project was to see how you can clean it, have the same quality grape and same characteristic both physically and scientifically without the virus. And so my grad student developed a technology where if you heat the plant to a level where the tips almost become white, not burnt, white, the virus doesn't go into the tips. And then you take the tip, and then we developed a tissue culture, artificially rooting them in the lab. Take the tip, and you develop a medium in test tubes, you put it in, and you root it, and then test for the virus. And when it is clean, you grow it, take the cuttings. And so during that time, there were always like Robert Mondavi, who was the pioneer in the grape industry. I used to have a lot of lunches with him, and they used to talk about these profit, loss, how much they cost, all that. I was really fascinated. I had no idea. And so that's how I convinced my wife that we got to move back. And she was a great sport, and she said, if that's what you want to do, I'll find a job there and we'll do it. And of course I got scholarship also, which is part of my requirement.
Free money. What was your first job thereafter? So then now are you looking to get out of some of the science side and more on the business managerial side?
First I wanted to be in the research side. So I went with a Weyerhaeuser company.
What do they do?
They had as the research director, they had a program where Weyerhaeuser owns more land than anybody else after the federal government. They grow these trees for pulp and paper. That's their main thing. Their number one tree is the Douglas fir, but it takes 50 to 60 years for the tree to mature before they can cut and replant. So the project was to develop tissue culture using the seedlings that can enhance the property. So that was the first job. And then from there, I went to Scott's Miracle Grow, moved to Ohio, of all the places.
What led you to Scott's? Because Scott's is really synonymous with pesticides, right?
They were developing an organic line of. Now you have it. You can go to Home Depot, Lowe's. Mm-hmm. They were developing an organic line of growing media, bagged media. So I was in charge of that project. They had two businesses. One is in North America, one is the rest of the world. The rest of the world consisted almost like 62 different countries, but professional growing areas.
Which one were you part of?
I was part of the professional growing. Mainly, except North America, we had the responsibility for all the growers, various growing of the crops, from citrus to avocados to lettuce to golf courses, selling the growing media.
So this is Scott's Miracle Grow.
Yeah.
You see that on the bags. It's fertilizers. They have pesticides, insecticides, herbicides.
Yeah.
Okay. And how
so, but mainly I went there because of their organic program for the growing media, number one. Number two, they're considered the premier in marketing of the horticultural products, plant-related I wanted to learn how do they do it, why they are so successful. So it's like a, you know, case study for me. So that's
In
where-
marketing.
marketing.
Can you share some, interesting stories on marketing?
Oh, well, their main thing is they were spending 10% of their sales dollars on marketing. For example, previously everybody was fertilizing their lawns once a year. So they came up with a marketing program saying that if you fertilize it 3 times, don't you want to make your neighbor jealous of your lawn?
It's good.
Lawn envy?
Yeah, lawn envy. That's a thing.
I think so.
No, but I mean, these business guys aren't stupid.
Oh, no.
So they're like, okay, right now people are using our product once a year. Let's just put a campaign together that encourages them to do it 3 times a year.
Right. 3x your sales.
Yeah.
3x sales. Then other marketing one was they also sell seed for the lawns, and the sales were not going that great. So they came up with the thing, absolute positive guarantee. If it doesn't work, you will return your money.
Money back guarantee.
Money back guarantee. So those of us that had the profit and loss responsibility, we were very concerned. Oh my God, everybody comes in and returns it, and what happens? And so the marketing guy said, no, don't worry. We'll track all the returns, and we understand, we computerize it, and if somebody is doing this more than twice, we'll say, sir, looks like our product is not good for you, so please don't buy our product anymore.
Wow.
Cocky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to make the long story short, only 1% of the total dollars we were spending were returned, but the sales went up by 27%.
Yeah. I think that's true of most money back guarantees, that it requires effort to get that money back, and most people just don't have that. I mean, did it ever bother you, the fact that Scott's was also, at the same time heavily, pushing synthetic fertilizers?
Yeah,
pesticides?
it did bother, but my main mission was like we say in the business school, case study. You do the case study, and that's what I was more interested as with the learning mind. But also I was traveling close to 300,000 air miles a year. I've seen 62 countries in my lifetime there. And so at the same time, there was a small company in California, Southern California, called Herb Time. They were into herbs, culinary herbs.
So these
growing-
are fresh
Fresh,
herbs.
all fresh, and growing in Oceanside, California. So they were looking for a CEO because a group of venture capitals brought them, and they were losing money every single year. So they wanted somebody who is very strong in agriculture, farm, understands the plants, the soil, but also has the P&L and cash flow management.
Can you, what's a P&L?
Profit and loss, making sure your costs are in balance with what your selling price is.
So you had that kind of perfect balance between the scientific technical side of horticulture combined with the business experience.
Correct.
Okay.
And so the recruiter called me, and magic word was Southern California.
300 and what, 35 days of sunshine?
72 and sunny.
Yes, all the time.
And in Oceanside, which is super cool, right on the
Beautiful,
ocean,
right on the
literally just
ocean.
north of San Diego. Like, that's a good job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what you did. You went from then Scott's to this.
Yeah, so I said, absolutely. I want to. I'm very interested.
What was that company called?
Herb time. It was HERBTHYME. Herb time.
Time. Little pun.
Little pun.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was owned by venture capital guys. If any of you have read the book called Barbarians at the Gate, uh, they are the ones, merciless, uh, and it's all driven for how to make money. So that was their main objective. But I had a different objective. Said, you're looking at their portfolio of products and what they're trying to do. We said we want to change how American consumer eats fresh herbs. My vision was converting everything into organic.
So at the time when you first joined, what was the product actually?
It's things like basil, thyme, parsley, mint, cilantro, all grown in the field, harvested as bunches, and washed the roots, and they were selling the bunches,
Okay. So just big bundles.
big bundles.
Okay.
So we wanted to do the everything organic and put them in clamshells. And today, if you go and see any grocery store, you don't see those bunches. You see all in clamshells and all organic.
So
We were doing
clamshells are there's plastic,
Plastic.
the hard plastic.
plastic.
Why was the clamshell important?
To preserve the respiration of the product so it won't go bad.
Interesting. So the actual breathing of the
breathing
the
of
herbs.
breathing of the herbs.
So the clamshell, did it help to increase the shelf life?
Yeah, it increases the shelf life.
So okay, so you're in Oceanside. You have this idea. How do you sell it to your team, to the VC guys? What was the process?
The VC guys were easy to sell because they see higher margins.
Right.
They see higher margins, and so we converted the whole area into organic and started. It took some time.
Yeah, what's that conversion process look like from going from a conventional field to organic? How long does that
We
take?
could not grow in the same area organic because you have at least 3 years you have to transition. So we have to find new area,
Virgin land.
virgin land. Also develop other growers. We were working with some growers in Hawaii because there's a lot of organic land in Hawaii and they know how to grow it. So we were bringing in the products. But the venture guys, they normally in it for 5 to 7 years, and their idea is to buy others and then consolidate. So we bought 7 different herb businesses and consolidated, grew the company to almost $70 million, making $10 million net profit.
Wow.
And sold it off. And they disappeared, and the new company wanted to bring their own people. And during that time, I met one of the board members at Herb Time called Jay Fishman. And he and another person, Jerry Tannenberg, who was a pioneer in the dried organic herbs, they had a small company in close to San Diego called Great Spice Company. We hooked up together, and I joined the Great Spice Company, and we were doing about nine products. Jerry Tannenberg also has experience in the fresh herb business. He was involved before, and he's the founder and the real brains in starting the Great Spice Company. And Jay Fishman, Jerry Tenenberg, and I, we still are three partners in HQO. And so at that time, Jerry was doing dried herbs, but not focused on organic alone. He was doing conventional also. Jay Fishman convinced him to do 100% organic.
What was his rationale? Why did Jay want to do that?
Focus. Focus. And also, he was also committed to giving clean product. He was also a believer in, both Jerry and Jay believer, just like me, you are what you eat.
Sure.
So
this was really the transition from herb time. After it was sold, they did fresh herbs.
right.
And then you moved on with Jay and Jerry. This was a privately held company.
Yeah.
I would certainly say entrepreneurial in spirit.
100%.
And but it's dehydrated, so not fresh.
Not fresh.
So I think there's distinct advantages to going to dehydrated. Probably the biggest one being shelf life.
Yeah, shelf life. But the disadvantage is shelf life. Let me explain to you. Because with the fresh herbs, every 6 days you have to order. Because after 6 to 10 days, the quality will go down.
They're a little soggy.
A little soggy, little wet, off flavor. So we used to train our customer service. Oh, call Rob because last Monday he ordered. Today is Monday, Rob. We haven't seen your order. Can we get your order, please? Oh, yeah, forgot. Here it is. So you can count on like clockwork. It's coming. But with the black pepper, I bought it 5 years ago. I still have it. So let me talk to you next month. See how my black pepper is. So that's the disadvantage.
Gift and a curse.
Yeah, it's a gift and a curse.
Yeah. With Jay, Jerry, and yourself, you guys partner up. The Great Spice Company is kind of rocking and rolling. You have a handful of products. What were the first sourcing locales, the origins that you guys were sourcing from? With only 9 products.
Yeah, our idea was from the beginning. Jerry's concept was that we buy directly from the growers. We buy growers that are committed to organic agriculture, organic way of living. As a matter of fact, when we were visiting any grower even today we do that, we look for, see if there are any indication of fertilizer bags or pesticide cans in the premise.
Yeah.
Running, check it around.
Yeah.
And then the second one we look for is the water source. Where is the water coming from?
Why is the water important?
Because if it is running water and if you have livestock and if the livestock feeds on it and then you have the contamination from the livestock, you can get salmonella and various other things that can impact your quality. Many years ago, when they had a major break of salmonella with a lettuce in Salinas, they traced it back to livestock upstream, and the running water was coming downstream, contaminated. So that's the main reason. So our first one was the southern India, Kerala, which has been traditionally almost 100% organic spices that have been grown for centuries. And that's where Marco Polo went and got those spices. And then he introduced the black pepper to the New World. And then the Chinese came from Afghanistan into India and then to Kerala, and the Silk Route was established. So that's the story behind why Kerala, in the southernmost part of India, is the capital of of spices, in particular black pepper. So we learned early on, black pepper since is mainly grown in southern India. Why is grown in southern India? It likes the tropical weather. It needs a lot of water, but the water cannot stay at the base. It has to be free flowing. So, but also we learned that black pepper is pollinated by rain, not by insect, not by birds, but rain. So in southern part of India, it all depends on the monsoons. Certain time, the monsoons will come and hit the soil. Sometimes the monsoons don't come on time. So if the black pepper is in flower and there is no rain, there is no crop. So we were impacted. So the one way we were dealing with it, have couple of years worth of product any given time, because that's our number one product. But that ties up your cash. That means you're tying up a lot of your cash into the product in the warehouse. So we have to find alternative sources. So then we came up with the strategy of follow the sun and go to other parts of India and convince the growers to grow black pepper. Today, black pepper is grown as far as Brazil. As a matter of fact, Brazil is the number one exporter of conventional black pepper in the world.
So this is an interesting concept. Follow the sun. So you're talking about going on different sides of the equator, on both sides of the equator. So that when one area is in off season, because presumably it's winter, the other area opposite of the equator will be in season.
Yeah, that's how we went to the growers in Vietnam, growers in Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and then started working with the organic growers. Small farms, these are all small, some people might have only 2 acres, some might have 10 acres, that's it. And they do these spices.
So 9 products, black pepper, I'm assuming some herbs.
Yeah, our first customer was McCormick, the giant. We were the first ones to sell organic products to them in the spice industry. And then in the tea side, Golden Temple, Yogi Tea was our first tea customer. Then it has been growing.
The rest is
history. It has been blowing up, as they say.
Yeah.
As they say, tea. I don't know that people would think or go to the fact that you all do tea.
What were you guys selling to Golden Temple?
We were mainly selling ginger, tea bag cut, that goes into the tea bags. Then cardamom. We were selling cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg.
So the Great Spice Company is humming along. You, Jay, and Jerry cruising, and then economic recession happens, 2007. So how did that change your trajectory?
It happened, but we found that even in the downturn, people still buy these spices.
Yeah.
We were not greatly impacted. But we also wanted to get more into botanicals, herbs, and tea ingredients. So there was a company available for sale in Reno called Organic Herb Trade. And so we bought the company and combined both the companies and called it High Quality Organics. So that's how the High Quality Organics, about 14 years ago.
So that was more of certainly a strategic acquisition. We moved everything from California to Reno and made Reno the headquarters.
Then about 7 years ago, we felt there is a market for Europe, and we started HQ BV, headquartered in Holland, and we have it operates independently. They have some suppliers close to us, same as the HQ Reno, but they have their own supply chain because the requirements in EU are a lot different than the requirements in North America.
Obviously, high quality organics is cruising along. I mean, did you always envision becoming a leader in the organic herb and spice industry?
Yeah, we always wanted, if you want to do it, you got to do it 100% organic, and you grow the business to be the leader. That's what we did when we were part of Herb Time. That's what I learned when I was part of Scott's, because Miracle Grow is the number one product people love and trust and value. The same thing with the Herb Time herbs. We had the 80% of the market share.
HQO is certainly a highly entrepreneurial company. I think it gets it from its original roots as the Great Spice Company. So what advice would you give to someone starting their entrepreneurial journey, especially from someone has a similar background as yours?
The main thing I always say is, if you are getting into a new business, is there a need in the marketplace? Have you done your white paper research? So that's one approach. But you can also take Apple's approach. There was nobody was asking for an iPhone, right? But he was brilliant in creating something that if is intuitive and people will do it. If you build it, they will come. Kind. So those are the two approaches you have to. Which way you want to follow? You want to follow. There is a niche in the marketplace that you can fill, or you want to create a product that is white paper, that nobody even knows they want it or need it, and there you can do it. But in any case, you have to make sure that you have enough cash, you have enough cash flows, that you are paying attention from day one on supporting the cash needs, because if you don't have enough runway, then you get into trouble. A lot of entrepreneurs, they just go into both feet wet and not consider the cash flows. That's one of the advantages of me having the background. My finance teacher, every class in those days, we didn't have the computers or anything, blackboards and the chalkboard. He used to write, say, cash is king, don't ever forget. So that will be my main advice, making sure you're capitalized and you have enough cash and you have the runway.
Okay.
By the way, Bill Gates now says that content is king.
Yeah, that's what we're doing here.
Just a little side note, and that's what we're kind of doing, is maybe creating something that people didn't know they wanted, like an iPhone, and we're saying, look, I think this is, Jonathan and I talk about it all the time, but communicating directly to your customers in a way that they can hear the stories about where the business came from, who the people are that are doing it. So sitting here as a third person and just watching you guys talk about your industry, I don't know, I think you're innovative. It sounds like you guys went into the business, saw that there was a niche that needed to be fulfilled, and you doubled down on 100% organic. I have had my feet wet many a time in entrepreneurial endeavors with no cash, like you're saying, and I have reaped the consequences of that.
It's very difficult.
And so anyway, I do think just again coming from the third person and looking at what you all have created and you continue to create, it's innovation. It's based in education and science and in kind of just common sense. Like you have to water the things a certain way or they don't work.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of follow those organic principles is why you guys are successful, I'm saying.
Yeah.
That is the key that runs the company. If you violate the principle, then you're violating yourself. I'm a staunch vegetarian. Even if I go to a restaurant, if there is soup, I always ask them, does it have chicken broth? It just has a little chicken broth. No, you cannot be half pregnant. If you're a vegetarian, you're a vegetarian. No, I don't want it. Just to give an example is, why we are committed to organic.
Well, that's what the people want to hear from the guys that make the organic spices.
Yeah.
We buy organic milk. We buy, organic cheese. And so I'm not vegan, so I do drink milk. Even the pulses that come from India, there are a couple of companies that only sell organic. A couple of my friends started in India and they export it, and that's what we buy.
You should tell Rob about your hobby, your garden, which is really more like a farm.
Okay. In your backyard?
Not quite. He wouldn't have the room for this.
Yeah. So what is it?
I volunteer at one of the high schools in Gardena. So this Gardena school is unique. They have a big farm that they originally started helping the students to grow, whosoever want to grow some things. So I got connected with it through a friend of ours, and they knew my background. So I helped the students on the soil health, how the plants grow, and everything. So as a result, they gave me several plots. So right now, I'm growing organic cabbage, cauliflower, kale, Swiss chard, broccoli, Napa cabbage, and I also have some lemons, limes, couple of trees that I planted, the apples. So I do that as a hobby. That's what we eat, and we give it to friends. Unfortunately, Jonathan doesn't eat many of the vegetables, so I cannot give it to him. But I give it to my neighbors and several of my friends. I do that because it gives me a lot of joy, going there and seeing them. And I also grow in the summertime and the spring a lot of Indian vegetables that my brother has been growing also in India, and it's all heirloom varieties. Heirloom variety is the one that has never been bred. It's from the centuries the same thing. The only way you can have is you save some seeds for the next crop, and on and on. If you run out, there's no more seed available on that.
That's what an heirloom means?
Yeah.
So it's like a legacy spice that
Legacy,
has been,
yeah.
Really?
The original.
The original.
Probably the most famous is like heirloom tomatoes.
Yeah.
They don't look like what we would consider normal tomatoes.
Right.
It's because these normal tomatoes, the ones that are nice and plump and red and big, have been bred and genetically modified and engineered to give those higher yields. It's the same idea with, chickens. They have these breasts so big they can barely walk. It's been, genetically engineered for higher yields. Whereas you look at an original chicken, it looks nothing like, what we're seeing today.
The OG chicken.
OG, yeah, the OG tomato.
Yeah, so like for example, I grow, my eggplant is my favorite vegetable. I grew last summer 7 different heirloom eggplant varieties that my mom used to make dishes. A side story, so when I came, I didn't know how to cook. because after a while I got tired of eating baked potato and pizza, uh, and I used to go to the dormitory room. I say, "What am I doing here? I can't eat. It's very very hard, and I cannot understand the lectures. I had to listen and write down." Um, so in my father was my mentor and guide, and so we didn't have the cell phones. We didn't have the WhatsApp. So you have to book an international call at a certain time, and the operator will tell you when the call will be booked so I can talk to my father. So he said, "Hey, don't worry, learn how to cook. Learn how to." I said, "I don't know." He said, "Don't worry, I'm a teacher. I'll sit with your mom. I'll write the recipes and send it to you by letters. And you read and you follow." Well, I cannot cook all of that in the dormitory, so I moved out. Went to a small apartment with another guy and started experimenting. So today I'm a very good cook. I love cooking.
People always ask. I think you've asked me this question. Like, hey, you're Indian. Where's the best place for Indian food? Where do you go? I go home.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the best.
I bet.
Yeah.
I'm coming over.
Yeah.
We got to do it. I mean, there's no way. See, I put myself in these positions for my own self gain, and I do like to eat.
Yeah.
And so, man, I would love to try some of your authentic.
Yeah, my wife
Indian cuisine.
she's also a fantastic cook.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a date.
Yeah.
I just made it for myself.
Let's do
I
it.
think.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So through those recipes that were sent from India.
From India, modified, I learned, and today I do all those things. Especially the vegetables I grow in the garden, they're so fresh. I can do it. I sent some dishes last night. I saw my daughter and I sent some dishes for her, and she said they taste just like grandma used to make.
Yeah.
So this continues.
Yeah. I have one last question for you, and then we'll wrap it up. So if you could go back and give advice to your younger self standing on that small farm in India, what would you say?
Follow your dream. Keep it going. Never give up. That's what my father used to say. Whenever you fall, dust it off and keep it going.
Keep going.
Keep it going. And we were working, like I said, 7 days a week. So whenever I complained to my father saying that, it's hard work, the story he used to tell me is, "Son, whenever we go for a funeral, did anybody ever say that, oh, he worked so hard, that's why he died?" So nobody ever dies or gets hurt because you are hardworking. So swallow it and get it going.
Yeah. Suck it up.
He used to say, "Suck it up and get it going."
All right. Well, we appreciate you taking the time.
This was awesome.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I know you'll be back for many more episodes, but I think it's a fascinating story, and now all of our viewers get to enjoy it as well.
Sure, they have a little bit of an understanding how this family business started, what makes you all distinct from the other, your competitors,
Yeah,
and
sure.
from the conventional side.
Yeah.
And the story is palpable. Like,
Yeah.
now your customers can see and hear the path that their product took and what it took to get here. And you're kind of impressive as far as education and hard work and following your dreams and all that. I'm impressed, and I don't know. I know this is a legacy business, so someday this guy's going to be doing it, and hopefully all this legacy is soaking in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Seems to be.
We're totally committed to, the organic business and the organic way of life, and supporting the growers, supporting our customers, supporting our employees. We spend a lot of time with our employees, educating them, sharing everything with them. We're like an open book. So the more they know, like Sam Walton said, the more they know, they care, more care they show, your customer will be impacted. So it's very positive. And we're not doing it because it's the in thing or we can make higher margins. We are doing it because of our fundamental belief. It's good for the soil, it's good for the environment, and it's good for the body. So that's why. And, personally, we're not just selling organic, we are living organic way of life at home, at my home. So, it's not because it's to be in style. I'm a vegetarian because, not because of religious reasons, but I just don't want to do anything that will impact the another life thing. So that's the same thing with the organic food that we are in.
Thanks everybody for joining us on this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did talking with my dad, Dr. Spice. Please tune in next time, and you can download us wherever podcasts are available.
The OG Spice Guy Show is recorded and produced by Hey Babe Media in South Pasadena, California, in association with HQ Organics, America's leading provider of organic spices. Today's episode was produced by Rod Clyde, associate producer Max Flora. It was engineered and edited by Drew Unser. The assistant editor is Andrew Weinstock, set design by Shen Heckel, web and SEO by Rebecca McDonald, and graphics by Michelle Esteva. Social media services are provided by Noel Mercer and Sophia Sherman of Soel Social. You can DM and follow us on all platforms and socials at OG Spice Guy.